Welcome, everybody. You are getting Lost in Plot, the show where we focus on story first, but not exclusively, across the mediums of film, television, video games, really anything with a story. I am Wade, that's my brother Jake, and today we have for you the Netflix pilot episode of Sweet Tooth. And now it's time to go get lost in plot. There's going to be some spoilers, but just for the first episode. That's all we're doing is the pilot here. So
Thank
no
God.
worries about that. Only the pilot episode. So let's go ahead and get lost in the plot. Here we go. So on a perilous adventure across a post-apocalyptic world, a lovable boy who's half human and half deer searches for a new beginning with a gruff protector.
Jesus Christ.
So this is a very familiar setup to a story. It's kind of a road trip. At least that's what we get. We spend most of the episode focusing on the man and Gus. Gus is the hybrid boy who's half boy and half deer, and Gus is his protecting father who's got him isolated from the rest of the world. A virus has come in, it's killed off most of the people, and then out of nowhere, inexplicably, all the babies are being born hybrids, half babies.
That's right, they're half human, half animal little
forest
babies. They're
animal.
hybrid babies. And don't forget, he's a lovable little deer boy, right? Lovable. They have to tell you that in the synopsis, and they basically use that same subtlety in this first pilot episode.
So it's something that's very familiar. I think we've seen this setup done a million times. The overprotective parent that is warning them constantly to follow the rules and you'll be safe. Inevitably, we know by the end of the episode he's going to break all the rules. And we know that the dad's going to die too, because that's what has to happen in these types of stories.
Yeah, he just has to go on his adventure.
Your protector's got to be offed. He's got to be killed and get out of there. So now you've got to go experience some real change and growth. And that's what we get here with Sweet Tooth in the first episode. So much of it is just to establish the relationship between the father and Gus until the father inevitably dies, and then Gus is forced with the realization that he can't make it on his own, and what is he going to do? So that's our first episode for Sweet Tooth. Now, this is an adaptation of a graphic novel.
Great.
It is a Netflix original series. It's one of the most popular that they've got going right now, but we'll get into this.
All right.
We'll get into this in a bit about the kind of dire straits Netflix has been into. But first, let's talk about who wrote this.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, say my name.
Talking about who wrote and adapted Sweet Tooth from the graphic novel for the Netflix series, it's Jim Mingle, one of those two.
Jim Minkle.
Yep. He comes in as the creator and the writer of our pilot episode for Sweet Tooth. Now,
All right.
notable credits, he's got some, I guess we can call them B horror movies that are out there in 2013, 2014. We'll put them up here. I'm not sure if anyone's really seen these. Stakeland, ever heard of that one?
No, it's about cows.
It's about vampires.
Oh.
So, he's also worked on a series for the Sundance Channel. It's called Hap and Leonard. I think they've done 2 or 3 seasons. It's been fairly well received over there. I have not seen any episodes. I assume you haven't because you don't watch anything.
Nope, I haven't seen it.
No. So there you go. There's our notable credits for Jim. Let's hand it over to you to break the story.
All right, then. So my one thing for Sweet Tooth is the oft-used phrase, style over substance, because this is your little handbook for this particular pilot episode. Everything about it is going to be stylized, right? We've got a post-apocalyptic landscape in the midst of a pandemic, right? Because we've never seen that before in any other type of media whatsoever. But we're not going to say anything interesting about it, far be it from us to even comment on it, right? We've all experienced this in our own lives. We all have our own thoughts and opinions, but here we can watch something that won't say anything particularly interesting or controversial at all. And then we're going to use that as just kind of a background setting. And next we're going to have little hybrid baby children who are half human and they're half animal. Whoa, I've never seen that before. And we're going to plant that right in the middle of this hellscape. And we're going to try and tell this little kitschy, over-stylized story, right? Of hipster dad taking his little deer baby into the woods, and they've got their kitschy cabin with all their quirky little life hacks, and the boy is wearing his little fuzzy sweaters that are hand-knit by dad, and everything is about feel and feeling good, and they even have schlocky voiceover narration. Tonally, it then becomes jarring when we have poachers come in who want to murder these little hybrid animal babies, but forget about that because we don't have anything interesting to say on that. The intellectual sophistication on display for this particular show is the equivalent of some baked hippie telling you that nature's good, man. Nature's good. Trees. That's basically what we've got, right? We've got the babies are going to be half animal and half human because nature's taking everything back. Just like nature wiped out all wicked mankind and now we're out in the trees and that's where we have to exist moving forward. This is it. It's all style. There's no substance. They don't risk saying anything interesting about anything, period. The characters are so underbaked and undercooked that they don't even resemble actual living beings, more just ideas that somebody cooked up in their head and slapped on the screen so that they could have this look at me entertainment that Netflix is now foisting upon us. That's Sweet Tooth.
Well, this is the pilot episode, so it's our first time we get to do a pilot episode. So your pilot episode is kind of setting up your world. What's interesting about this one is you're not really getting the show in this episode, because it's all about the relationship between Gus and his dad. His dad's going to be out of the picture after this pilot episode. He's going to form this entirely new dynamic with the gruff...
The gruff protector, right?
gruff
We all
protector.
get it. We know. And it's just a pilot, and they can explain all these things later on, like why we have these little hybrid babies running around and what it matters with the
And
pilot.
that's the mystery.
A
And that's,
pandemic
of course, the
landscape.
hook on why you would want to go on with the series, to find out, well, what's happened? What's happened, you know? And as a pilot... it's kind of a balancing act between you give your audience something familiar, something they can latch onto, but you have to make it different and unique just enough that they're going to come back and watch the second episode. And that's where I think this stumbles a bit for me. It's like, where is the urgency to get me to come back and watch the second episode? You haven't really sold me on the urgency for Gus to get out to Colorado. I know he's not going to make it there, and poachers are probably going to take him down with all those candy bars, mount his head on the wall like you say, but the urgency for him to like move on isn't critical. I'm not like dying to figure out, it's like, well, what's going to happen next? He's made this big leap. He's had this epiphany towards the end where basically all the rules his father has told him, he has one thought occur to him, and that's, you know, what if he's wrong?
But it doesn't. It doesn't even have a perspective on anything, right? What does the father teach him? If you hear a growl, duck, or if you see a human, run, or like all this stuff. Like, we get it. All right, overprotective.
Well,
the father gives him a slingshot too. Overprotective.
It's
like
the father protecting innocence is what it is, because the whole world's gone to shit. He's got one kind of pure innocent thing. He's going to do anything he can to protect it, right? We've seen that story done a million times over. It's a very
and there's
familiar
nothing
story.
unique or original or interesting here whatsoever. They didn't even try.
Not yet. And that's the thing. It's like, this is your pilot episode.
You only get one shot. It's the pilot. If
don't-
people are
you
going
don't
to
have
tune in
to
for the
do-
second episode, it's because they liked enough of what they saw in the pilot that they
True.
want to find out
It's true.
more. You have to hook them with something.
But you don't
have
have to give them
something.
You don't have to give them everything.
No, you don't give them
The pilot doesn't have to give them
You
everything.
got to give them enough.
And did it give them enough? That's what we're going to find out. So let's jump to Dead or Alive. We're back for Dead or Alive, talking about the Netflix series Sweet Tooth, and you've got a lot to say.
It's dead. This one is dead. It's a 3 out of 10 for me. This is exactly the kind of smooth-brained, empty-headed schmaltz that I can't stand. If you're going to tell this type of story, tell the story. Have a point of view, have an opinion, do something at least mildly interesting. Instead of all this cutesy BS, we really want you to like me type garbage. And then all these tropes that we've seen now done to death. We get it. In a pandemic, in a post-apocalyptic landscape, the nastiest thing out there will be what other human beings do to each other. Say something about it. Do something. I mean, the hybrid animal babies. I get it. It's a pilot episode. You don't have to explore everything. You don't have to give everything away. But you have to at least make it somewhat interesting. Right? Other than just putting, wow, he's a little cute boy in a sweater, and we put hammers on his head.
Well, it is the pilot episode, and for me, that's what it really comes down to. I'm not asking them to give me everything, but are you giving me enough to make it interesting where I might be interested enough to come back and watch the next episode? That's really your big chief goal in
Right.
the pilot. And I'm going to put this Alive at a 6 out of 10. This made me come back, and I'll watch the next episode.
You're just pushing buttons with this nonsense. You are pushing buttons. Go ahead. Tell me where it is. Where we found this out. The saving grace to this paltry
I was
offering.
interested enough. It's fine. It's kind of a family entertainment show. It does have its hard edges, as you pointed out.
Yeah, if you don't like your family, sit down and watch this together.
There's part of that too. I thought it was interesting. I didn't think it was quite earned the moment where he kind of rejected all of his father's teachings and just had the one epiphany. It's like, well, what if
No, it was
he's wrong?
perfunctory because they don't
What if
understand.
he's wrong? To hell with the old man, and let's go jump over the fence and find that stranger that came in and knew how to like rotate crops and let the soil grow fallow so that you don't waste all the nitrogen.
going
He seemed
through
like
the
a
motions.
smart guy there. He's actually a football player. Did you see?
Yeah, I saw him in the original thing.
He's a defensive end. We
hung
don't
it
know
on
anything
there to
about
see
him
his
because
face.
neither of us have gone on to read any of the graphic novel or even watch the next episode in the series. We're just going off the pilot here, and it did enough for me. Your criticisms are all valid. I can't really disagree with anything that you've said. You're right. It's been done a million times. It's paint by numbers. It's generic for a post-apocalyptic story. And the only thing you got to hang your hat on is the lovable little boy with the antlers and the deer ears. But I'm curious enough to kind of see, is this going to go somewhere good or very well in the next episode?
He's so lovable. He's so now look, this
I
child
could be
actor.
just like you on that seat and just a head full of fire.
Look, the little boy does a tremendous job. He's a good actor. He plays the role well. But I mean, come on, what do they give this character to work with that is unique, interesting, or worthy of what's going on here? I mean, there's nothing there. You don't have a fully realized character in the entire pilot. Nobody with a point of view, nobody with a perspective, nobody who's done anything that looks unique or interesting at all. Like, how you avoid this throughout the entire show is almost a miracle in itself. That you are so superficial and surface level in terms of your exploration of all the ideas and your characters on display bodes ill for this series moving forward, okay? Because this show was written by the creator, was it not?
This pilot, yes.
Yeah, written by the pilot. And the same guy who wrote the graphic novel?
No.
No, okay, so a different guy. But if this is your showrunner and this is the depth and the intellectual sophistication that you're getting into, these are shallow waters, my friend. They are shallow, shallow waters.
I think with a pilot, though, you want to be a little bit friendly to your audience, and that's why I'm not being as harsh. And when I get to the second episode or the third episode, if it's not plumbing those greater depths, then yeah, I'll be done with it because I don't need that light entertainment. It's good family entertainment, but not something that I need. And you're right about the style. It comes from a graphic novel, so you expect to see a lot of style in the visuals and what's going on in the design of the world because it's already been fully realized. The IP is out there. You're just grabbing it and throwing it on the screen.
But it's style and all no substance. Let me give you an example of it, okay? There's a voiceover narration that comes in a couple of times, all right, which is awful, all right? So they get the old man who's warbling into the microphone telling you about what's going on in the story. And his line is, "Some stories start at the beginning. So-and-so's story starts here." What the fuck are you talking about, old man? What does that say about anything? Anything. It's nothing. It's all about... It's like
the story started.
It's like wrapping yourself in a warm blanket and like, oh, I love this man's voice. This old man, he's going to tell me a story and pat me on the head. It's all stylistic, but it doesn't go anywhere. It's not for anything. It's not in service of anything greater than just that aesthetic. Period. It's high level mimicry is all it is.
It's true, and I can't disagree. You just have far higher standards than I do for a pilot episode. I don't need everything in the pilot. I need to see enough that there could be something. There could be a kernel that grows into something that's a really interesting story. But that's fine. Let's talk about Netflix for a minute, because this is one of the top shows for Netflix this year. I think it was maybe like 13 top streaming shows. One of their originals that they brought in. Now Netflix is having problems. Okay, there was their stock is tanked. It's down 5%. They're bleeding subscribers. Now, why do you think that is? I've talked about Netflix
Because of crap
in the
like
past.
this. If they want you to subscribe
Bad
and watch shows
original
like
content.
this, if they want you, yeah, the Netflix brand, as soon as you say like Netflix original, it's starting to take on this connotation of just like, oh God, this is going to be trash, right? And you know, they throw boatloads of money and they get the A-list actors and they put them in there, and it's just like, and then the Netflix stamp on there is Netflix original content, and you know to stay away, okay? And Netflix want to continue to voice offerings like this on an unsuspecting public, all right? Well, your subscription should get you more than the content. They should send you
This is one of their more popular ones.
a bowl of mushrooms to eat so that you can actually be at the intellectual level necessary to enjoy the program.
This is one of their popular ones.
Yeah, that's what you
Netflix
said. I
is
know.
bleeding subscribers. Some of the criticisms of them has been what I brought up. They're kind of flood of soft core skin flicks and shows that are popping up there in the top 10. Suddenly that's what you go to Netflix for. And others have pointed out, maybe their politics. There was a big scandal with that one they did, that Cuties one, about the little
that
girls
was a disaster
dancing
for them.
suggestively.
That was a
Why are you
disaster
throwing
for
out?
them.
So there's been a big revolt against them, and they're having problems. Now, Netflix kind of had the jump on everybody in streaming services. At the same time, they're starting to go down. HBO Max is like through the roof and doing great in the stock market and exceeding expectations. But Netflix, licensed other material that was already out there from studios.
Mm-hmm.
But then they realized that these studios say, well, we can do this ourselves. We'll start our own streaming networks. Then what are you going to do, Netflix? You don't have any content. So they panicked. They took all that vast amount of money that
And
they
these
been
other
sitting
networks are more competent and capable of their own original
on. They've got
programming.
a vast library.
Which I don't understand. It shouldn't
Proven
be.
work.
If
Yeah.
you have all these writers and directors and actors that all have their passions and their projects, this Netflix should be an unbelievable outlet for creative, individuals.
Their strategy,
to
as far as I
manage
can
this.
tell, is to take a big chunk of money and throw that shit against the wall, man.
Yeah.
Something's gonna stick, and we'll hit something. We'll hit a Stranger Things, or a Lupin, or the Queen's Gambit, one of their hot shows, and hope that that's enough. And what's been happening, what we're seeing, is that it's not enough. Clearly, by their loss of subscribers and their plunging stock prices, something's got to change there, because now they're in a race with all the other proven studios that have been, creating content for decades.
And they're falling behind in
And
that race.
suddenly Netflix has to try and catch up.
Yeah, I don't know if it's creative oversight. What I think is the glaring issue, that somebody overlooking some of these properties needs
be,
to have
we
a
can
better
only-
vision for what Netflix brand is.
we can
Netflix
only
doesn't even
speculate.
have a brand.
Yeah, we can only speculate. I'm willing to give Sweet Tooth at least one more episode. You're not. You set it on fire and killed it right away. It's dead, and you mounted the little boy's head on your wall.
No, I like the little boy, but the show was offensive, and I just, to my sensibilities, it was schmaltzy schlock, and I didn't enjoy it.
So we've got a split
each his
here, dead over there, barely alive over here. I'll give it one more episode. Hopefully I'm rewarded for that. And otherwise, I'll be killing it too. But I think that wraps us up.
It does. Guys, what do you think of Sweet Tooth? Please let us know in your comments down below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Give us your thoughts and opinions. If you like this video, please leave us a thumbs up. If you loved it, consider a subscription, and we will see you all when we are back on the next one.